Why was former Packers coach Mike McCarthy seen hanging out with Wisconsin athletic director Chris McIntosh? Is McCarthy going to replace Luke Fickle as the next football coach at Wisconsin? We'll explore it. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, if you could, hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. We are here every day. And if you could share, like, and follow, that helps us out too. Plus, you can hype YouTube videos now. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, more attention to detail, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Stay tuned later in the episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So, Mike McCarthy to Wisconsin, what do you think? Fact or fiction? We'll try and separate that. Plus, I think Ohio State's going to have a challenge at Washington nobody's talking about, and we'll have our Big Ten Classics this weekend. But if things continue to go south for the Wisconsin Badgers, it would not surprise anybody, I don't think, if this is the end of the road for Luke Fickle there. I mean, it happens. We don't root for it. We hope he turns it around, but these things happen. But I do have this question. Could former Green Bay Packers coach Mike McCarthy be the next head coach of the Wisconsin Badgers? If you've been on social media at all in the past 2 days, you think this thing's a done deal, right? I know it sounds a little crazy, but he was seen with athletic director Chris McIntosh in his suite a couple of days ago, taking a Wisconsin volleyball game. That's right, a volleyball game. The Badgers were hosting the Florida Gators in a match that was airing on the Big Ten Network, and the camera panned up to look at the athletic director in the suite in the Kohl Center, and lo and behold, Mike McCarthy, former Packers and Dallas Cowboys coach, is side by side talking it up. That's weird, right? I mean, it came on the same day that McIntosh gave a strong vote of confidence for Fickell and his football program, even though they've been struggling mightily. In fact, that followed this weekend's loss at home to Maryland, where fans at Camp Randall chanted "Fire Fickell" as the team headed to the locker room down 20-0 at the half. To my knowledge, McCarthy has no ties to Wisconsin athletics other than the fact that he lived in Green Bay when he was a coach of the Packers. Presume he still has his home there. But I'm kind of curious, why would the athletic director publicly stick behind a beleaguered Luke Fickell and then be seen in a very public place with McCarthy if they were having conversations about the football program? They wouldn't. That's just it. I mean, that would be amateurish. It would be silly. It wouldn't be smart. That would just be asking for a public relations nightmare when you don't want one. So the fact that they were speaking is not puzzling. I'm sure there are such conversations taking place about the future of the football program. There are a lot of unhappy people at Wisconsin right now, but those conversations will be taking place privately, not out in the open in front of a crowd where TV cameras are rolling at a sporting event at Wisconsin. Now, there is another explanation. I'm sure there's other explanations. I know that McCarthy had at least one older daughter that played club level volleyball in Dallas when he was coach of the Cowboys. And I know he has a lot of kids. And maybe he's got another daughter up and coming being recruited by Wisconsin. That would be a logical explanation, right? Volleyball family, looking for a place to go to school. It can happen. That can be very plausible, as a matter of fact. Details on the latest volleyball recruiting rankings are not in my wheelhouse. So, I mean, I did some digging around and stuff, but not a lot of information out there. So, but it is a possibility. Regardless of what is going on with McCarthy, Luke Fickell's football program, it's in disarray. In just over 2 seasons as a football coach, he's a 500 football coach, and he can't get it right at quarterback. Just start the starting point right there. That's been the big problem. So, you look at the quarterbacks that he's brought in there, whether it be Tanner Mordecai, Tyler Van Dyke, Billy Edwards. I mean, this team just can't catch a break at all these important positions. And all these quarterbacks that I mentioned, they've all had some sort of injuries along the way. I've often argued here on this podcast that Mordecai and Van Dyke were the wrong answers to begin with. And Billy Edwards Jr. feels like, to me, he's in that same camp. I mean, he arrived from a 4-win Maryland team into the transfer portal, and I don't know that he's going to be much help once he gets healthy. I just don't think so. So Fickell did a couple things. So he's always been bringing in transfer portal quarterbacks. All these, we've had over 2 years go by. He hasn't had a guy develop that he recruited, not yet anyway. That's number one. Number two, Fickell failed to embrace the team that he did inherit over 2 years ago with humongous offensive linemen and a solid stable of running backs. I mean, that's Wisconsin's bread and butter. Offensive line and pound the ball. That's their strength. He wanted to change that overnight by converting the program into an air raid offensive attack, and he wanted to do it overnight. And I think that was a big mistake for him at that point. So he lost a lot of ground early on. And then now you follow, big losses to Alabama. I mean, that's excusable. It's Alabama. But Maryland, I think, is a game they had circled on the schedule that they were going to win, right? And they didn't. Maryland came in there and dusted them with a freshman quarterback. So if that's bad enough, the squeamish Badger fans, you shouldn't look ahead at what's coming. The Badgers clearly have the toughest schedule in the Big Ten, and we're just getting started. Next week, they're at Michigan. I don't know how that's going to go. Then they host Iowa, which seems to be getting it together with the all Iowa Hawkeyes. Then number 1, Ohio State comes to Camp Randall. Yikes. If a 3-week stretch in your schedule that includes Michigan and Ohio State aren't tough enough, by the way, after that, they go to Oregon. I know. You're shaking your head. You're going, whoa. Oregon, of course, last year's Big Ten champs, and they look pretty good this year. Then they got a home date against a pretty high-scoring Washington team. Then it's off to Indiana. Did you see what Indiana just did to Illinois last weekend? 63-10. Oh, by the way, then Wisconsin hosts Illinois. That's a team that won 10 games last year, even though they got pummeled last week in Bloomington. And then they close out the year at Minnesota. Maybe that's a game they could win. Maybe. I mean, I don't want to be doom and gloom or anything. It's possible. I mean, it's out there that Wisconsin may not win another game this year. Maybe. I mean, best case scenario, glass half full. Maybe they go 2-6 the rest of the way. Maybe they beat Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe they beat Washington or something, or Illinois. I don't know. There's not a lot of wins out there. 2-6. If they go 2-6, that means you're 4-8. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you don't win these games, you're 2-10. Coaches usually don't survive that. Changes are made at that point, especially coaches in year 3. So what about those Mike McCarthy rumors? What do you think? Hit me up with the comments. Would love to hear from you guys on that. You're always very good at it. Hey, be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. And you and I will be in the same Big Ten club together. And if you could share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, that would be great as well. Don't forget, we have a website. It's called talkbig10.com. That's with the number 10. All of our podcasts go there. Plus, there are links for you to buy your favorite team merchandise. Wisconsin Badgers, you want to show a little school spirit, get a Wisconsin shirt, pennant, hat, all right there, along with our podcast. Go back and check out yesterday's podcast in case you missed them for a second listen. That would be fantastic. Coming up, I just mentioned the Huskies a minute ago because they're on the Badgers schedule. So is Ohio State. Those two play each other Saturday. I think that is one of the more intriguing games this weekend as the Buckeyes go to Washington, and also the USC-Illinois game. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the eligibility of a defensive player for Indiana. All that coming up right here as we continue on Locked On Big Ten. It's almost the weekend, okay? And it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP. Like, who delivered? Powered by DoorDash. And just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order, these players deliver when it mattered most. So I want to break it down. Look, it's Fernando Mendoza, quarterback of the Indiana Hoosiers. 5 touchdown passes, 2 weeks in a row. Finished out the game completing his last 15 passes in the 63-10 beatdown over Illinois. That was some big-time performance there by him when the pressure was on. He delivered. And just like Fernando Mendoza delivered for Indiana, DoorDash delivers on your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you save every Saturday that you order, stack them all up weekend after weekend after weekend, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep your streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Watching games is exciting. Having a little action on it is even more exciting with FanDuel. Hey, we're into the NFL season here. FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with this can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It's very easy. The app is fantastic. You got the point spreads, point totals, over-unders. You can parlay. You can do prop bets, futures. Call your shot for the big game there in February right now. See what the odds are. It's great. So, you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten and making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we have audio versions. So if you just want to listen to audio, don't want the video, fine. Spotify or Apple, check it out there. And you can also check out our website, talkbig10.com. I want to talk a little bit about the Ohio State-Washington game this weekend. I think outside of the whiteout with Oregon and Penn State, that's, of course, the big game. The Oregon-Penn State game is the one we're going live after here on Locked On Big Ten Saturday. And it's going to be a fantastic game. But I'm also interested in how the number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes do at Washington this weekend. I mean, let's face it. When the schedule comes out and Buckeye fan looks over the schedule, like we're 1 through 2. We're 12-0. We're 12-0 this year. Then they whisper to themselves in a moment of doubt, go, okay, well, if we lose to Michigan, 11-1, we're still good. But we're not losing to Michigan. That's what they say. Because of that, I think Ryan Day has the toughest job in the country because that's the expectation. The expectation is to win every single game at Ohio State. Tell me I'm wrong. But that can be dangerous because that means you may overlook some legitimately tough opponents from time to time, like Washington this Saturday. First of all, it's a road game. Got to travel across time zones. That's never easy. I know, right? Welcome to the Big Ten. That's how it goes for everybody now. Huskies Stadium is one of the loudest to play in. You know, they got those side roofs and the audio, just the screaming, the fans, this noise just bounces right back down onto the field. And a very loud place to play. There's also the fact, by the way, that the Washington Huskies are a very good football team. And you look at a couple of matchups in this game, the Huskies will have the better quarterback in this game. Damon Williams Jr. is rapidly becoming a superstar in college football. And Julian Sain's just getting his feet wet. He's just figuring things out. Had a couple of interceptions in his last game. The Buckeyes will have the edge at wide receiver, obviously, with Jeremiah Smith, but Denzel Boston is no slouch. He's still one of the best receivers in the Big Ten. So, yeah, advantage Ohio State, but not as big of an advantage as they normally have. The Huskies will have the advantage of running back. Jonah Coleman. He's had a 177-yard game. He's had a 5-touchdown game on 15 touches. He's had a 100-yard receiving game already. He can do it all. And he's behind an offensive line that is better than Ohio State's. There are a lot of advantages for the Huskies. Now, defense, hands down, that's the Buckeyes. No argument. No argument whatsoever. The Ohio State Buckeyes defense is the better defense in this one. And they're only giving up 5 points a game. That's a slam dunk. So this game boils down to Ohio State's defense and whether they can slow down this Huskies offense, which almost never punts. Their punter is like their least used player on the team. And they're going to have to do it in a hostile environment out there on the West Coast. What do you think? Let me know. I'm going to make my final pick on this one tomorrow in our Friday Pigskin Picks that we do each and every Friday. So tune in for that. Make a note of that. There's one other game on the board that really intrigues me as well. And that's number 21 USC and number 23 Illinois. Now, USC just won its first Eastern time zone regular season game in like over a decade when it beat Purdue a couple weeks ago. So they can do that now. They can travel. They're going to have to travel again, obviously, to this one. And I'm more curious to see how Brett Bielema's team reacts 1 week after it was destroyed by Indiana 63-10 on Saturday. Was that a one-off? Is it fixable? Is Illinois, mentally broken? Are they going to have a hangover from this? They're shell-shocked, right? Or maybe Indiana's the greatest team ever. I don't know. But it was shocking to watch. And Illinois is a good football team. This is a team that, won 10 games last year. It's got a lot of stars back, got all 5 offensive linemen back. Luke Altmaier, the quarterback, is back. Hank Beatty's a great weapon. They've got some players. So that's what made that game even more shocking. Now, when it comes to USC, they can roll out of bed and get 500 yards of offense. That's their deal. That's their jam. In 4 games, they've scored 73, 59, 33, and 45 points, respectively. So Illinois could see this, and they can be in for some post-traumatic stress if USC scores often and early. Another game I'm very interested in. Again, we'll have the picks on this tomorrow in our Friday show here on Locked On Big Ten. Speaking of Indiana a moment ago, a judge ruled on Wednesday in favor of IU starting safety Lewis Moore. If you haven't heard his story before, he's 24 years old, and the judge says he gets eligibility for the rest of the season. He filed a lawsuit in August, which challenges the NCAA 5-year eligibility rule. He'd already played 5 years of football. And he says that his 3 seasons at Navarro Junior College in Texas should not count, that it wasn't big boy football and it shouldn't count against NCAA Division I college football eligibility. Well, the judge agreed with him. Most of these cases like this do not go in the favor of the player. The NCAA usually wins these. Not this time. And the judge says that, yeah, he can play for the rest of the season. And he had been playing so far. In fact, he played against Illinois the other night. There was a stay that allowed him to play while this got ironed out. And it's great news for the undefeated Hoosiers because Moore leads the team in tackles with 23, and he leads them with interceptions with 2 so far. And, of course, he will be in good use when he plays at Iowa on Saturday. The fact that he played well with all this legal stuff as a distraction, I think that's pretty impressive. So, nevertheless, and then in that game, of course, the Indiana Hoosiers will be behind quarterback Fernando Mendoza, who now, after his performance all season long and his performance against Illinois, he is now the favorite to win the Heisman. He's got the best odds in Vegas. And he was slowly kind of climbing up there, but he got everybody's attention this past week. And then John Mateer, who was the leading odds getter for Vegas for Oklahoma, he broke his hand. He just had surgery, so he's going to miss the next 4 weeks. So Michigan fan knows all about John Mateer. He was the quarterback of Oklahoma that beat Michigan in week 2. So, and remember all that preseason hype about Arch Manning? Arch Manning hadn't done anything. He's gone. He's not even talked about right now. So now it's Fernando Mendoza, the Cal transfer into Indiana, top odds getter for the Heisman right now, as we're a third of the way through the football season. Indiana has never had a Heisman Trophy winner. All right, coming up, one of our features that we do each and every week. If you are new here, by the way, subscribe. We always have a feature that I think you will always like. Mondays, we come off of a hot weekend with my top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. List them all out there. Tuesdays, we do Tuesday tweets. Wednesdays, we power rank the Big Ten 1 through 18, the standings as we think they should be. Thursdays, we take a look at the Big Ten Network, who we have no affiliation with other than our mutual interests, and we pull out the Big Ten classics the Big Ten in 60s, and what games are carrying live. We condense it down for you nice and easy. So we'll have that coming up next. Plus tomorrow, as I mentioned a couple times already, our Pigskin Picks on Friday show. Those are the features we do at the end of the podcast. So we'll take a look at Big Ten Classics and live action coming up next in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. This is Mazda's Moving the Game Forward, brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it, because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible. They remind us to go the extra yard, shift into that extra gear, and keep moving the game forward. Just like, for example, Fernando Mendoza, who we just talked about, the quarterback of the Indiana Hoosiers, who, again, completed 15 straight passes and had 5 touchdown passes against Illinois this weekend. He's clutch. He's a breakout performance week after week. That's why many think he could win the Heisman. So that's fantastic. So go for it when you're either in a Mazda or whether you're cheering on a guy like Fernando Mendoza. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. And right now we are going to take a look at our Big Ten Classics and live action coming up here for this weekend on the Big Ten Network. We'll put it on screen. If you're audio only, don't worry. If you Spotify or Apple, I will describe what is going on here in detail so you can follow along. And I'm trying to mess in the wrong buttons here. Let's go. Hold on. I didn't have it there either. All right, I'm going to add this. There we go. My apologies for my fat fingers here today, pressing the wrong buttons. So here we go. Let's pick it up with the Big Ten Classics and live action this weekend. I got a grid here. These are all Eastern times. We'll pick it up with Friday action, 1 o'clock Eastern. So I guess that would be 10 o'clock on the West Coast. If you're interested in this, Oregon Football Classic. It is a re-airing of the Big Ten championship game, Oregon versus Penn State from this past December. And of course, those two play on Saturday again in Beaver Stadium in the whiteout. And for the Big Ten championship game last year, you remember that Dylan Gabriel threw for 4 touchdowns and helped the top-ranked Ducks beat the third-ranked Nittany Lions 45-37 to earn the program's first Big Ten title in their first year in the Big Ten. So, yeah, you can watch that or record it if you're an Oregon Duck fan. And then we got Big Ten soccer. That's they're into the primetime, 6 p.m. Eastern, Michigan State at Michigan for men's soccer, and also the nightcap, 8 o'clock, the doubleheader, UCLA at Indiana. All right, on to Saturday, and a big day of college football. So we'll start it off here at 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time, 7 o'clock Pacific. The Big Ten tailgate show that they do each and every week. They move around. They're going to do it for Minnesota this week. I got all the Big Ten Network crew out there previewing games, a bunch of highlights, and getting you ready for everything. Special guests, analysis, all that right there. Then at 11:30 Eastern, it's their Big Ten countdown to kickoff, really dialing it in before they get into the games. And then at noon, they will air the Rutgers at Minnesota game. Noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So that's what they got on Saturday. And then that will lead into their 3:30 coverage of the UCLA at Northwestern game. So it's a football doubleheader on Saturday. So that's a 12:30 kickoff on the West Coast if you're watching from UCLA with their brand new interim coach, Deshaun Foster, no longer there. And Nico at quarterback. We'll see how they do. Then at 8 o'clock, they switch gears and got Big Ten women's volleyball, Michigan at Michigan State. Now, on to Sunday. What are we going to do here? So we'll pick it up at 11 o'clock Eastern. They have their Big Ten football in 60s. That's where they edit snap to snap highlights. You can watch an entire game boiled down into an hour, and they will replay the Ohio State Washington game there at 11 o'clock. We're going to fast forward all the way into the evening. At 7 o'clock, they got the final drive. If you missed all the weekend's action and then you've had a full day of NFL football, you can watch the final drive. They have all the highlights of every team every game in the Big Ten over the weekend. They play it numerous times over the weekend. I just highlighted the one that's on at 7 p.m. on Sunday night. And then at 8 o'clock, they'll have the highlights, the Big Ten football in 60 with Indiana at Iowa. And then at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, another football in 60 with USC at Illinois. Another one of those games we're very interested in. And then at 11 o'clock, a Big Ten football in 60, UCLA at Northwestern. That will be at 8 p.m. on the West Coast. All right, so there we have it. Our look at our Big Ten Classics and live action for this upcoming weekend. Lots going on. We're very excited about it. What do you think? Give me some comments. Hit me up on YouTube with all that. Go back and check out yesterday's podcast. We previewed the whiteout game between Oregon and Penn State. And again, by the way, you've been seeing on the crawl on the bottom, we go live after a big game on the weekend on Saturdays. And this weekend, obviously, it's going to be the Oregon at Penn State game. So we'll go live here on Locked On Big Ten. You get my immediate reaction. I get yours too in real live time comments. So we always look forward to that. And every Saturday. And that's what that will probably be about 11 o'clock Eastern-ish. We wait for the game to end. We wait for the winning coach to do the on-field interview because most of you are still watching that. And then as soon as that's over, we go live. So around 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific, we'll do that here on Locked On Big Ten. So mark your calendars for that and join us. It's always a huge success. We always have a lot of fun with that on a Saturday. But again, you can go back and check out yesterday's podcast that we previewed for a second listen of the Oregon-Penn State game as well. Before you go, if you could hit that subscribe button, that way you'll never miss a single episode. And then also on Twitter, we're there at Talk Big Ten, and then our website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts are archived. I also want to invite you to tune in to another Locked On product as well. Joining in with Fire TV, it's a college football kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12, he leads the whole conversation alongside with two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former college football star Jesse Holley, and then all of our Locked On experts come on and give you their insight for the upcoming games on the weekend. It's a college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch the college football kickoff every Thursday with Locked On and Fire TV. That'll do it for us. Tomorrow, it's a big preview of every single team, every single game this weekend, and then we'll cap it off after we give you all the information. We'll cap it off with going on the record with our pigskin picks. That's what we do on Fridays. It's one of our favorite shows of the week. So join us for that as well. That'll do it for us here today. I'll talk to you tomorrow. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll see you then.